Welcome to this demonstration video of the new release of SystemairCAD from 2023 week 13 called H7. The first new feature I'm going to demonstrate is a echo version of the counterflow heat exchanger. So let's select a counterflow heat exchanger for 11,600 cubic meters an hour in a Geniox 18. Change the plate heat exchanger to a counterflow type, and let's start with the type B that has the lowest performance but also the lowest pressure drop. Let's calculate. Here we can see that we actually fail on the thermal efficiency. We are just shy of the requirement of 73%. But we also fail on the SFP internal limit with quite a margin. This says that we somehow need to reduce the internal pressure drop of the unit selection. And one of the ways to do that is actually to select this new echo version of the counterflow heat exchanger. So let's select that by checking this box in the dialog. And now we can see that the height and the width of the heat exchanger section is changed. What happens is really that we insert the heat exchanger section from a Geniox 20 into this Geniox 18. So let's try to calculate. Here we can see that if we compare the calculated values to the previous calculation, that our efficiency has increased to 75%. That's a good margin to the 73% limit of eco design. We can also see that the SFP internal is reduced significantly. Now we are down to 607 if we compare to the previous calculation. This is actually a way of getting more airflow out of the same unit size. And we can see, since we have a margin here on the SFP internal and the efficiency, we can even increase the air volume more than the 11,600 that we have right now. If we have higher requirements, for example 80% EN308 efficiency, then we have to change to the type A heat exchanger. Let's take type A and let's check if the standard version can actually meet the requirements in the first step. We calculate. We actually hit the 80% spot on for the thermal efficiency, but we failed with quite a margin here on the SFP internal limit. So once again, we are in the position where we need to reduce the internal pressure drop of the unit. And as we saw in the previous example, let's select the echo type heat exchanger like that. And once again, we can see that the width and the height extend. Here we go. And now we can see that our thermal efficiency increased to 83, still good margin to the limit, and also a SFP internal limit was actually reduced quite a lot. And now we are comfortably within the limit of eco design. And in this situation, we could actually once again increase the air volume of the in the unit. This gives me a lot of options to really tune and optimize the performance of my air handling unit, because I certainly have this new eco design option to really optimize my unit to the specified requirements. These eco type units, even though the unit height and the unit width are different, they will also be available as roof units or outdoor units. All roof types will be supported. And if I select the polyvinyl chloride roof here, we can see that it is added to all three sections. We also have a new louvre option for the outdoor units. It was really introduced for Geniox Core in December 2022, but now it's also available in Geniox 10 to Geniox 20, and it is this louvre where we angle the airstream 90 degrees, and so we will have in this example, the outdoor air inlet on the inspection side and the exhaust on the back side. We can of course also mirror the louvres so that we will have the exhaust air on the inspection side. Let's look at some of the other features that we implemented for this release of SystemairCAD. Let's just configure a standard rotary heat exchanger unit. Yeah, we can use a Geniox 18 once again. We've always been able to insert a pre-filter. It's inserted as a separate function and it has a length of 200 millimeters. But there's been designed a new and combined filter option where you can actually add the panel filter in front of the back filter, and you can still select from the same filter classes as we had before for the pre-filter. And the difference from the old design was that now we actually attach both filters to the same filter wall, and by doing this we can actually reduce the unit length with 100 millimeters. In this situation you can of course not put any functions in between the pre-filter and the back filter. We also extended the functionality of some of the dock components for the larger unit sizes. So let's configure a Geniox 27. Once again we can use a rotary heat exchanger unit with heating and cooling. Now we can actually place dampers in the ducts, also for Geniox. This has been a unique feature to Geniox Core, Geniox Go and Geniox 2, but now it's also a part of the Geniox 1 selection. We can also, of course there's no reason to have two dampers, so let's delete the other one. We can also move an internal damper to the dock position. Let's apply some dock connections so it makes sense with these dock components. We still of course have access to preheaters. We can also place docked sound attenuators, and this is new. They were only implemented from Geniox 10 to Geniox 20 in previous releases, and also in this situation we are of course able to select between the different distances between the baffles, but we can also select a smaller size of attenuator. Let's have a look at the new DX changeover calculation. So I prepared a little TV kitchen unit here up front, and if I go into the changeover function, it is by default selected as a water coil, but I'm able to select a DX changeover coil here in the coil type drop down. And what I can see is that the optimize function is disabled for this DX changeover, and that's because that we often would like to have a a minimum internal coil volume, and that is of course the best option is to have a P25 coil. That is the thinnest internal piping that we have in our selection. We can still select from the different plate distances, but otherwise the coil selection is pretty much as it is for a water coil. We can see that we have the specifications for cooling. Here we can define the required supply air temperature in cooling mode. We can define the required supply air temperature in heating mode. And over here to the right, we have got the evaporation temperature and the condensation temperature. The condensation temperature is set up to the outdoor temperature plus 15 degrees by default. That's sort of a thumb rule that was recommended from some of the DX guys, because that, what can we say, will make sure that we have a decent performance from the heat pump that we have to connect to this DX changeover coil. Let's try to calculate. And in this situation it says, yeah, we cannot create one with one external circuit. You need a result for two. Yes, please. Okay. And now I can see that I actually get a 6-row 40 circuits coil. The internal volume per external circuit is 9 liters, and I have 2 external circuits. My temperature in cooling, 28 degrees in, 16 out. In heating, 13.2 in, 22 degrees out. I have 66.8 kilowatts in cooling, 29.2 kilowatts in heating. And we can see that the corresponding condensation temperature to provide the 22 degrees here in operational conditions is 30.4 degrees. We have the possibility to sort of adjust the internal coil volume per external circuit. We can do that by selecting 3 external circuits instead of 2. So if I calculate the changeover coil once again, we can see that the coil volume per external circuit is now reduced to 6 liters. We also changed a bit in the printout. So I did a second TV kitchen unit here. It's selected as an outdoor unit. I selected it with a preheater and a heating and a cooling coil. I selected a valve for the cooling coil. I selected a damper motor here for the dampers, a on-off motor for the extract air, and a spring return for the supply air. And let's try to calculate the unit. We also made a small change for the result dialog. As you can see, we sort of divided this right side column in two. We added the SFP value for the single fans, the supply air fan and the extract air fan, but we can still see the total value down under the unit information below the line. Energy class winter and summer is exactly as they were. Go to print and preview and select only our unit 2, full specification. Yes, please. And let's move the printout to the shared screen here. The major change here in the printout is the short technical description, and here we can see that we have divided the data in 4 categories: unit data, supply air fan data, extract air fan data, and energy. In the unit section of the table, we can see that we have the sort of casing configuration description. This is painted black, 60mm mineral wool, and it's standard hygienic. There's not selected a VDI 6022 or a Eurowen 1 or 2 star hygienic certification. The unit is without control system. We have 2 power supplies, one for the unit 3 times 400 volts, 16 amps, and we have one for the preheater, electrical preheater. Again, 3.400 volts and 12.4 amps. Then we go into the supply air, and here we first have some general information about the airflow, the external pressure, and the target temperatures and humidities. And then we have the functions in the order that they are installed in the unit. So here we have the preheater, we have the filter, we have fan, heating, cooling. Then the extract air, we have again general information, airflow, and then we have filter and fan. If we check the filter information, we also inserted these filter ISO 16890 if there is more than one filter stage. And we also inserted this double vertical line as a separator between the data. So it should be easier to sort of separate the data and figure out which data is actually related to what text over here in the left side. So voltage, 3 times 400 volts, rated current, 7.4 amps, RPM, 1661. If we move down to the damper, here we go. Then we introduced a required actuator torque for the dampers, and the minimum requirement is 10 Newton meters in this case. But we also selected an actuator for this damper. It is a spring return. It's 24 volts and it has a torque of 20 Newton meters. So this concludes my demonstration of the new features in SystemairCAD release H7. Thank you for listening.